Well, good morning, and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com, and fightbackmediatv.com. Which was that you are well here on this Thursday morning. It is the 22nd of December. We're getting there. We're getting there. People ask me all the time, are you ready for Christmas? Can you be ready? Is there such a thing? And what if you're not? Can you hold it off? I didn't think so. So it doesn't matter if you're ready or not. So all that to say, it doesn't matter if you're ready or not. Again, um, as a programming note, this is the last set of morning reports for the year 2022. We will be dark next week. Hopefully, be working on the YouTube channel, getting some shorts done, that kind of stuff. But at least for the early part of the week, I won't be working my day job or my night job or my regular job. So we're just gonna be spending some time at home, chilling, just being with the fam, taking a little time off. Again, we're working on my wife's channel primarily, her YouTube channel primarily, but not doing morning reports. So this is the last week of morning reports for 2022. Thank you again for those of you who have listened, not just here in this country, but around the world. All our fans in New Zealand, we've got a bunch of people who listen to New Zealand. Thank you ever so much. I see you. I see you. And those of you who listen around the world, I see you guys too. So thank you ever so much. Paul and I thank you. So we're going to get started with today's morning report. Mr. Zelensky, the president of Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, was at the White House yesterday. President Joe Biden greeted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House on Wednesday, prompting a message that the U.S. will continue to financially support Ukraine even months after Russia invaded the country. Wearing his signature long-sleeve green shirt, Zelensky said that he and Biden share the same values. Yeah, of course they do. Make as much money from these mugs as you can. After the president had vowed to help Ukraine for as long as it takes. I know we got inflation, we've got all sorts of things happening here in this country. We've got an invasion on our southwestern border. And this president is dedicated to helping Ukraine. Now, I remember a little bit ago, Ukraine was the bad guy, right? Apparently, Trump was involved in Ukraine in some sort of negative way. But what we're finding out is it's the Bidens that are connected to Ukraine in some horrible way. But anyway, he says this: we fight for common victory against this tyranny, and that is real life, and we will win. And I want to win together. Not want, I am sure we will win together, Zelensky says, while standing next to Biden at the White House earlier Tuesday. At the beginning of his speech to a joint session of Congress later on that evening, Zelensky described what is like fighting on the battle, what it's like fighting on the battlefield. Every inch of land is soaked in blood. Roaring guns sound every hour. Trenches in the Donbass change hands several times a day in fierce combat and even hand fighting. But the Ukrainian Donbass stands, he said. And we haven't seen any of this World War II, World War I imagery that Zelensky is painting here. As both Democrats and Republicans erupted into applause, yay! Representative Lauren Boebert, Republican from California, who had voiced criticism of sending aid to Ukraine, remained seated. Additionally, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, Republican of California, declined to join his fellow Congress leaders in accompanying Zelensky into the Capitol Rotunda. The Ukrainian president told Congress that their money is not charity. but an investment. An investment in what? Your money is not charity. It's an investment in global security and democracy that we can handle most responsibly. I'm not even sure what that means. It's listen because again, I tell you guys all the time, listen to what they say. Your money is not charity. It is an investment in the global security and democracy that we handle most responsibly. You handle democracy responsibly? What's that mean? Adding your support is crucial, not just to stand, not just to stand in such fight, but to get to the turning point to win on the battlefield. Zelensky's arrival in DC coincided with another gift of military aid from the Biden administration of a cool 1.85 billion smackers, including a defensive Patriot missile battery. Another 45 billion is said to be gifted to Ukraine in the Democrats' $1.7 trillion omnibus bill. However, Zelensky warned that the package, in addition to the billions of dollars, listen to this is important. They got a cool 1.85 billion and are set to get 45 more billion. Zelensky said that with all the military equipment and the use and the money that they've given them is not enough. The money that your taxpayer dollars have given to Ukraine is not enough. I came here in the US to thank the people of America, people who do so much for Ukraine, Zelensky said. In his closing remarks, the Ukrainian president invoked a former US President FDR, comparing Ukraine people to Americans. Standing here, I recall the words of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, which are, I think, so good for this moment. The American people in their righteous might will win through absolute victory. That makes me an absolute victory. Zelensky said, adding the Ukrainian people will win too. Absolutely. $46.8 billion this round. Zelensky says, not enough. Not enough. Early in the day, Biden told Zelensky that it was particularly meaningful to speak to the Ukrainian president in person, to look each other in the eye. The man who perpetually presents the image of a wartime president fighting on the front lines was told by Biden that he'd been named Time Magazine's Man of the Year. The question everyone should be asking is, why is the U.S. putting so much money and effort into helping Ukraine when America is facing some of the biggest problems in its history? Senator GOP leader Mitch McConnell said earlier in the week that the number one priority for the United States is providing aid to Ukraine, even though recent polling by Gallup has showed that the fight between Russia and Ukraine doesn't rank in the top 10 issues identified by Americans. The fact of the matter is, we don't care. I guess we care, but it's not on our top 10. If Biden puts half as much energy into combating problems that are threatening the U.S. as he has provided support for Zelensky, our country might not be facing record high inflation and a border overrun by illegal immigrants. Now, what about the cities in America that have bad water? 48 billion or $46 billion would have, or $1.85 billion would have been very, very handy into making sure that these places had clean water forever. You think? What about the homeless problems in California? Another cool $1 billion would have definitely gone a long way to solve that problem or help with that problem. How about the overrun of illegal immigrants in the southwestern border? You think 20 bill straight up would have helped that problem some? but we're sending 1.85 billion with a B. Another $45 billion to come. That's in the omnibus bill. Omnibus bill. It's Europe's problem. Somebody answered, not our problem. It's Europe's problem. And ultimately it is. Unless Europe goes first, because all this is happening on their doorstep. If Europe isn't participating, sending troops, sending equipment, sending money to Ukraine to fend off Russia, if it's just us, it's just a proxy war between us and the Soviet Union. It's just another proxy war. It's just another proxy war. That, you know what, I agree with Lauren Boebert. We shouldn't have anything to do with this. We just shouldn't, especially dealing with our own situation in this country. Just saying. Just saying, folks. Just saying. How do you feel about that? Write that down in the comments. Love to hear how you feel about it. And with all this going on, the House Select Committee on January 6th has decided to hold off releasing the rest of their findings on Trump, although they have already referred 4 charges to the Department of Justice for investigation. Okay. However, now, since the January 6th Kangaroo Court has wrapped up its work and sent it to the Justice Department, many Democrats in the House are already trying to apply pressure on Merrick Garland to bring charges and prosecute Donald Trump on the 4 sort of vague counts they concocted. But strangely enough, their Democrat colleagues in the Senate are mostly remaining silent on the issue. Those who are commenting for the press are urging caution and describing that there may be a very high bar to reach in taking such an unprecedented action. That may sound like a more sensible attitude, but they are likely weighing some other risks that could arise if their party chooses to pursue such an action. This is from the Hill. From the Hill. The Senate Democrats are not calling on the Department of Justice to bring charges against former President Donald Trump for his actions in the lead up and during January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol, despite a recommendation from the House panel investigating the unprecedented event. While members of the House January 6 Select Committee are ramping up pressure on federal prosecutors to indict Trump, Senate Democrats are taking a far more cautious approach, with some arguing there's a high bar for prosecuting a former president. I think you should be careful about prosecuting former presidents. I think it's okay to have a high bar when it comes to bringing charges against former chief executives. There's a clear and convincing evidence. Then the Justice Department should proceed, but only should be pretty careful about doing so, said Chris Murphy, Democrat from Connecticut. There are 2 reasons why some of the smarter Democrats in the Senate are biting their tongues, and both of them are valid. The first is that any attempt to prosecute Trump could wind up blowing up in their faces. If the DOJ brings charges and fails to obtain a conviction, it will make this entire circus look like a waste of time. And given the fact that the committee never proved that Trump did anything beyond talking to people, it could be a very heavy lift indeed. There's no question that Donald Trump has very much believed the election was stolen from him and would clearly have liked the results of the election reversed. He even talked to people about it, including Mike Pence, elected officials, party leaders in several swing states. But talking isn't a crime. And ultimately failed to convince anyone to take action. Also, a failed attempt to convict Trump of something would correctly be widely viewed as a more politicization of the Justice Department under the Biden administration. But there's a second and potentially more compelling reason for Democrats to back away from the ledge on this issue. Bringing charges against Trump would set new precedent. We have always reminded people that that's what's good for the goose is also good for the gander. The House is about to begin hearings into the affairs of Hunter Biden and his business partners, including the potential involvement of the big guy and his cut of the action. They will also be looking into the affairs of the FBI at Twitter, and what seems like an obvious government censorship in violation of the First Amendment. After all of that information comes to light, just imagine if the Republicans take back the White House and someone new is in charge of the Justice Department. There might be any number of charges that could be brought against Joe Biden after he leaves office. And after going after Trump in such a fashion would be all the precedent they would need to drag Uncle Joe in front of a judge and a jury. That's probably not the sort of headline that Chuck Schumer and his colleagues want to be dealing with right after an electoral loss. But if they hold off on attempting to prosecute Trump, they would at least maintain the high ground in claiming that such an action would be a bridge too far. And the thing that isn't mentioned is if they shoot and miss, which they are likely to do, that just makes the legend of Trump bigger. The legend of Trump is already huge. But if you shoot like this and you miss, Trump is bigger than ever. If you miss, Trump is bigger than ever. Trump is Godzilla at that point. Everything Trump is Godzilla. Even the ridiculousness of Trump trading cards. They're $99. They would easily be $999. Tread lightly. Tread lightly. Speaking of elections and overturning elections, our friends at Red State are reporting that the Kari Lake legal team finds that 42.5% of the ballots examined were invalid. Kari Lake lost the Democrat Secretary of State Katie Hobbs in the November election by less than 18,000 votes out of a total of over 2.5 million votes. The Kari Lake War Room tweeted this: 48 of 133 ballots reviewed during our examination were 19-inch ballots produced on 20-inch paper. Ugh. This 1-inch discrepancy causes chaos on election day, causing the mass rejection of these votes as they were attempted to be read through the tabulators. Hang on a second here. As Red State reported, Maricopa County Supervisor Court Judge Peter Thompson on Monday threw out 8 of the 10 claims in Lake's December 9th lawsuit, but allowed two to stand. The claims allege an intentional plot by officials to manipulate the election in favor of Hobbs. Wow. Thompson ordered a 2-day trial, which started today. Arizona Central described the 2 remaining charges. Here's the 2 remaining charges: that a Maricopa County elections official intentionally caused ballot-on-demand printers to malfunction on election day, and that enough identifiable votes were lost and cost her the election. The other charges that employees of the Runbeck Election Services, the county's ballot contractor, illegally added ballots of family members, and that any failure by the county to maintain a proper chain of custody was both intentional and did in fact result in a changed outcome. Incorrectly sized ballots created havoc, Lake argued, and the errors were not accidental. Another tweet from the Kari Lake War Room. This is how they disenfranchised Maricopa County voters on election day. The ballots were designed to be unable to read through the machines. This wasn't an error. This was malice. The process worked exactly as they intended to. Wow. As Red State's Jennifer Oliver O'Connell reported, Kari Lake spoke at the Turning Point USA AmFest convention last weekend and was enthusiastic about her legal chances. Here's what she said. Yesterday, we got great news. We're taking these bastards to trial. I'm so excited. You know, I ran against our own version of Joe Biden here, right? Katie Hobbs, Basement Hobbs. She ducked out of the debate, but she can't duck out from taking the stand in our trial. She will have to take the stand. Katie Hobbs is going to have to put her hand on the Bible and swear to tell the truth. That might be hard. That might be hard. And so is Stephen Richard. They're going to have to swear to tell the truth. And I just want to remind them that perjury is a felony. However, it does not appear that as if Hobbs will actually take the stand, as Lake's attorneys announced later that they have withdrawn their subpoena for her to testify. The trial has adjourned for the day, but not before we got to see Maricopa County Election Director Scott Jarrett act like the irregularities of the poll were really no big deal. So again, this story is developing. We will know more about it as it comes to a close on today. And tomorrow we should know more about it. My name is Willie Lawson. This is the Morning Report, a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.